Stocks our strategists feel are poised to deliver positive returns are featured now in their top stock picks of the week.
Welcome to this week's Top Stock Picks. I'm Tracy Reineck, and I'm joined at the chairs this week by Dave Bartosiak to talk about a Chinese social media and gaming company and a Florida health insurer. Dave, we're going to start with you because you would think going into this that it would be the Chinese stock that would be real volatile, and I have these visions of what it used to be like with Chinese stocks with the reverse mergers, and there was no transparency, and we were being ripped off and all this other stuff. And then we come in here, and the stock you've chosen is having kind of a difficult day, and it's had a difficult couple weeks here. So what's the story going on with health insurance and innovation?
Health insurance innovators, or innovations rather. HIIQ. We're having some issues here, Tracy.
I noticed.
But I really wanted to talk about it today for a couple of reasons. First, we do have it in Home Run Investor, so I do owe everybody an explanation, right? We got to talk about this thing. What's happening? So the stock's down. It was up over $35, and then all of a sudden we've got some volatility. And this morning, before we came in here, the stock was off already 10%.
Yes, this is on September 11th.
September 11th, and then about 5 minutes before we came in here, all of a sudden the stock's down
worse.
30%, right? So we're scrambling trying to figure out what the heck is going on. So apparently there's a Seeking Alpha article that just came out, and we all know we love those Seeking Alpha articles, talking about an investigation back in June that I guess supposedly, according to Seeking Alpha article, that their Florida, a key license that they have in Florida is basically under investigation because they didn't disclose a few of their insiders being under investigation for something else. And then now they're afraid of a domino effect that might take place. Oh, if Florida pulls your license, and you're going to get pulled from all these other states. I think it's a little bit overblown here. These investigations were fully disclosed. They've talked about these, and in the analyst reports that I read, they address these investigations. So it's one of those things where it's not a very widely watched stock, and then when you get a bit of negative news like this, because there's not a lot of positive news to balance it out,
right?
This is what starts to happen.
Sell the news.
They're just selling it. So it's just blindly selling. They don't care. So I guess I'm coming in here to let people know that maybe you just don't blindly sell the news. What you have to think is this really going to happen? And has there been a fundamental change to their business that's going to result from this, right? Now, obviously, if their license got pulled from the state of Florida, that would be terrible. But this is an investigation we've already heard about. So that's kind of the head scratcher here of why it's down so much today. We're not really sure.
Should I wait until there is some certainty, or if the company makes a statement or something like that as an investor, which, or am I buying this dip?
I'm buying the dip. And if I could add, the way that Home Run is, I can't exactly add, it's in there or it's not in there, right? It's kind of a binary thing. But one thing I do want to point to here, I'm going to pull it up on the chart, is our price and consensus chart on HIIQ. And you can see that the stock was a $5 stock in 2016. Really started beating earnings, and then look at their estimates, really skyrocketed upward, not just for the current year, but then the next year. So you have growth in these estimates and these numbers going through the roof. At the same time, all of a sudden, there's a lot more volume that's coming in on the stock here, right? So I think what's happening is you've got very low volume overall. And then when you have a surge like this today, that's why it's getting beat up so much. So overall, they're still going to be making money, I think, year over year. They're talking about something like 38% EPS growth for the current year, which is great, and then still 24.5% for next year. So these numbers are still moving in the right direction, assuming that this investigation sort of blows over. But I find it hard to believe that something so critical to their business, they would just licensing that they would just kind of ignore and not worry about, right?
Yeah.
This is something that has been addressed. They have talked about it, so I think it's overblown today, and I think it's a great buying opportunity. But of course, time will tell.
Okay, people can put it on their watch list at the minimum, and keep an eye on the news there. Okay, my stock is the Chinese social media company Tencent. A lot of people have heard of it. It is one of the big guns. There's market cap's over almost $400 billion now. But I mean, they're just crushing it. And I used to, as you know, not want to deal with any of these Chinese companies.
Very skeptical on the Chinese companies.
But this is one, yeah. But this is one of my favorites because they're so massive. They're in social media side. They have artificial intelligence. They're going into that. They're into the cloud. So they're making money across a lot of platforms, including their gaming, which has always kind of been their bread and butter. And then they also in the online payment area, which is going to be huge. Of course, Alibaba is one of their main competitors in that. So there is competition. They're not just given the wide open market, but on their version of basically like a Twitter or Weibo, they have almost 1 billion monthly users now. So it's good to be them. But estimates rising. We don't have many analysts on a lot of these foreign companies, so you kind of have to watch that. But they just had one of their best quarters ever in their history. Revenue was up big, and they're expected to gross, revenue over 50% this year, which is incredible given the size with that market cap to be growing revenue still at that level. Earnings up over 40%. As you can see, I put them up here, getting this nice boost up in this year's and next year's. It's just a steady climb because nobody's saying, this is going away. But if you look at the chart, I know people get a little nervous about this one. It's kind of like not as directly up as your stock was, but shares have, really moved higher since a couple years ago, and they are up big again this year. But they're not trading super expensive, about 39 times, which for the rate of growth you're getting, I don't consider that to be that expensive in this area. So I still really like them. This is, again, one of the big Chinese companies I like the most because of their diversity and the different areas they're able to pull the revenue in.
Sure.
And because they're so big, the Chinese government has basically anointed them along with some of the others as the chosen ones.
That's a big thing. They do that a lot in China.
Yes.
Where it's like, you're kind of insulated from competitors, and as long as you're following our rules, you're going to be the chosen one.
Right.
And that's why you have the Alibabas of the world,
Yes.
that keep coming up and growing and getting bigger. So if these guys are in the good graces of the party,
right.
It could be good for the long term.
Right, and they're given the term, they are the winners in this area, although they do have competition with a few other of the winners in it, but at least within China, it's a good place to be. So I really like Tencent. TCEHY is the ticker, so a little bit of a weird ticker there. And they pay a little bit of dividend, which is rare.
That is rare.
It's only like 8 cents a year. Okay. But I feel like they're putting it out there to be kind of like, see, we do have the cash flow, and it's not all
just
fake.
To make a point.
Yeah. So get in this one, maybe stay on the sidelines or watch the other one.
Definitely keep an eye on the other one.
Okay.
Look for anything that might transpire over the course of the next few days, because they've got to come out and address this.
Yeah, you would think so.
Immediately. So we'll see. This could be just an intraday dip, and who knows.
Yeah, I'm going to be watching it for sure. If you want any other top stock picks, of course we do this every week, so be sure to tune in on Zacks.com and check out our old videos, also over there on YouTube. And we'll be back again next week with a couple good stock picks.